One of the things that actually hold people back from investing, Miranda, is bad credit.
Oh, yeah.
You've made mistakes in the past. You haven't paid your store cards or your credit cards or your personal loan. Maybe life happened, and now you find yourself in a situation whereby that bad credit is holding you back. Either because your score is just not what the banks are looking for, or maybe you have a judgment against you for a debt that was unpaid. But now you are thinking about investing and you're worried about this monkey that's on your back. Is it still possible then to be able to invest even with bad credit? Or should you totally forget about property investing until you sort it out?
It's one of our commonest questions, and we thought today we are going to handle that. I think I've seen it 3 times on TikTok, once on Instagram, and even here on the YouTube, we saw people who ask about that. Don't let bad credit stop you. We're going to tell you how and what are the things that you can do, because fixing the bad credit is a must as
Yes,
well, right?
yes, absolutely.
For you to be a successful property investor and to build a portfolio. So let's just talk about that a bit. What is bad credit?
So maybe before we get to bad credit,
Yeah.
let's talk about what is a credit profile or a credit record. So when you open an account or you access some form of credit, lending institutions will report this information to credit bureaus, right?
Yeah.
And so they keep a record of of all the credit that you've got,
How you
and also
handle.
how you're actually paying it. And the reason why institutions like banks and maybe clothing shops and other loan providers provide this information is so that a person who is considering borrowing somebody money has got some sort of a basis to decide whether you are worth borrowing money or not.
Yeah.
And because they don't know you and they can't just go on your word to say, no, I'll pay, they need to find an objective way of assessing your ability to pay.
Yeah.
So they will assess your ability to pay in terms of the overall credit that you've got and also how well you've been using the credit that you've been having.
Yeah.
And so if one person is thinking of granting a loan to you, they then look at how have you previously handled the debt that you've been given in the past.
Yeah.
So if you're always paying on time, you are not skipping payments, and your credit record is clean, then that person can assure themselves that, if Slindile has previously been able to honor her agreements, chances are she will also honor my agreements. So it's absolutely essential that when somebody borrows you money, either via a credit card or a personal loan, it's very important that you honor that agreement and you pay when you are supposed to pay.
Yeah.
Because when you don't do that, it reflects poorly on you as a person and can have dire consequences for you, because then other people won't be able to borrow you money in the future. So I think that's why the credit record is there and what it's intended to do.
And I think one other thing that you need to pay attention to is, I know Capitec has it, I know FNB has it. When you have allocated the monies that you pay, say you pay school fees from your bank, from your banking app and stuff, it allocates them into little buckets. And even for entertainment, it allocates it into a little bucket, and it lets you know on the 19th and the 20th when you are overspending. FNB literally goes, oops, overspending on your entertainment. So pay attention to things like that, just so that you keep yourself honest with yourself. And it doesn't matter at what age. Maybe let's talk about that as well, because the younger you are, the worse you are at keeping your credit. You think it's okay to miss your Vodacom payment or your Edgar's account or something like that. And those are the things that count when you suddenly wake up and you are 29 and you are trying to buy your first apartment or your first piece of property. So credit is an important, guard it with your life. Now you have the pay slip, and I think you are the one who triggered this whole thing. Now you have your pay slip. Take care of how that pay slip is managed. And now you open a clothing account because you need to look decent. Pay attention to that credit that you have gotten from your Edgar's Truett or whatever store, because that's gonna tell them that Now you're gonna wanting an apartment, so you are able to handle an account. So
Yes, absolutely. So how you've paid your previous accounts will impact you when now you are ready to buy a property. So now you find yourself in a situation whereby, yes, you've already made the mistakes.
Yeah.
Yes, you did not understand the implications of not paying your debts on time.
Yeah.
Now you are in this predicament. So the thing you need to do is you need to remedy the situation. That's the first thing that you need to do, because if you don't take care of it, it will follow you all your life, right? Whether you're looking to buy a car, a home, even to rent sometimes. In fact, most agencies run a credit record even if you are renting. So having a bad credit record can really affect your quality of life. It's something that you need to do and remedy it. If you are, behind on your payments, try and catch up as quickly as possible. Reduce the debts, close accounts that you're no longer using. So all of those things, remedy it as soon as possible. But this is not to say that if you want to invest in property, it's totally not possible for you. There are still ways that you can still invest in property, but you are just gonna have to be a little bit more creative in terms of how you do that, because you're not going to be able to just go in and apply for a loan from the banks like any other person who's got good credit. And so that some of the misconception is that maybe you may qualify from, your salary is good enough, but now your credit profile is bad, so you don't get access to money. So these things go hand in hand. Your pay slip together with your credit profile is what is actually going to enable you to be able to earn the income that you desire, or to be able to acquire the properties that you want.
Yeah.
So if now, Miranda, I'm in a situation whereby, yes, this is my predicament, it's not to say it's the end of the world,
No,
right? So
it's
there's
not.
still creative ways that you can still invest in property. And one of those could potentially be what we call a rent to rent.
rent to rent is a fun one.
Yeah?
Yeah, rent to rent is a fun one. So you might find yourself renting an apartment. You are living in this 2-bedroomed apartment in Midrand. A strategy that Sli speaks about a lot, because her first piece of property was a 2-bedroomed apartment. You're staying in it. The other room, you are keeping your gym clothes and your gym bag, and you sleep in the other room, right? And you owe somebody, and you are not getting, the salary doesn't get to pay everything that you needed. The free room is an opportunity for renting out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
share the apartment, because if you've got a rent of 6,000 rands and you invite a friend to share the apartment with you, now you've got 3,000 from her, 3,000 from yourself. Now you've got a free 3,000 that you are going to utilize to take down one or two of your debts and attack the one that has got the highest interest, maybe your credit card or something like that, and just start whittling off that one. Rent to rent is an amazing strategy. Some people literally go and rent another apartment just to rent it from somebody else and make a profit from it.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
rent for 4,000, but you rent it out to the next person for 5,000. Now you've got an extra $1,000. So that is very, very possible while you are fixing your bad credit. We'll keep saying that, because there's no point in staying in bad credit if you are trying to become a property investor and you want a portfolio one day.
So one of my other favorite strategies in rent to rent is, or one of example of it, which is something that I also do, is you rent an apartment from someone and then you then rent it out on Airbnb. So now I'll make an example. Let's say, for example, it's a nice apartment in a nice area you've identified that can work, for example, for Airbnb. You rent it from the owner for 10,000 Rand a month, let's say. And you now go and you furnish it and you now rent it on Airbnb. So now the very same apartment can rent for 1,000 Rand a night, let's say.
Yeah.
So now you are paying the landlord 10,000 Rand, or the owner of the property 10,000 Rand a month, but you are able to rent it out to Airbnb for 30,000 Rand. So for 1,000 Rand a night, which equates to 30,000 rand in a month.
If it's
so now,
full
if it's
every
fully
day.
occupied, so let's say even if it's like occupied for 20 days in a month, now you're making 20,000 rand and you're paying the owner the 10,000 rand, and now you're able to make a 10,000 rand profit. So here's the benefit of doing it that way. You are getting to gaining exposure and experience in running an Airbnb. Now you are actually creating profit. If you've set up your property business or your property company, it's now having income.
Yeah.
So it's already starting to generate income, and you could even be using that additional income to then close off some of the debts that you've got. So a rent-to-rent strategy can work for Airbnb, for student accommodation, even for normal houses, as long as obviously you request the permission of the landlord to do a rent-to-rent, because ultimately they have the relationship with you as the renter. So you then need to make sure that when you then do something else, that the owner is aware of that. So absolutely, you can get started with rent-to-rent as a strategy.
Yeah.
The second one as well, which is also one of my favorites, is doing a rent-to-buy.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, you've identified a property and you know that at the moment you've got bad credit, but you're planning, you've given yourself a year or 2 or 3 to fix your affairs. You can enter into an agreement with the owner to say, or the seller to say, can I rent the property from you for the next 2 or 3 years? And then after 3 years, I know that my affairs will be sorted, then I will buy. So that way you lock in the price now, you're living in the property, and you are able to do that. Or even if you're looking at renting, because you can do that even for rental properties, you can say to the owner, can I rent it for 2 or 3 years, or however long you feel you need, and then you are able to then do the purchase later on. We've, for example, done that for Sakisizo Property Stockville.
Yes.
We bought a property from the owner and we were renting it while we were raising the money to complete the purchase. So that is definitely something that is possible.
Absolutely. I want to talk about it considering other people who move into South Africa, or a young person with no credit score at all, and they are willing to buy. Absolutely. So there is this one family that moved to South Africa. The husband, I think, is Zimbabwean. The wife is South African, but they had lived elsewhere. They moved back to South Africa. No credit scores, never had worked in the country. But they had found a house that was absolutely convenient for the 2 children who were going to school. They sat down with the seller to say, we are gonna rent your house, right? We are gonna rent your house, but we want to rent it at a higher price. So I think the house, let's say it was selling for R1 million rand. Let's lock it in, because in South Africa, you need a credit score to get a mortgage bond. And what they did then was they opened cell phone accounts to create credit and credit records around themselves. And they also had the school fees, right? So they were paying the school fees of the kids monthly. And the landlord wanted 10,000 per month. But they decided, we are going to pay 15,000 per month. And they sat down with a conveyancer and an attorney to draw up a contract in which they were renting for 15,000, and the other 5,000 was going into the attorney's accounts, so that they are almost laying down a deposit and show of commitment that they are going to buy the house. In 2.5 years, they already had credit record on their mobile phone accounts and the school fees, and they had bought cars as well. Funny, in South Africa, they will give you a loan for a car, right?
So easy to get a car
So
for loan.
but they couldn't give them for a house. So rent to buy, absolute great strategy, especially while you are fixing the bad credit or you are building your credit score. Very, very good examples, Sli.
So let's talk about the other one, which you can also do, is to partner with others. So I think when you are in your property journey or property investing journey, and now you realize that you want to invest in property, and now this bad credit is affecting you, it's not to say that it's the end. What you can do is you can partner with somebody who's got a good credit, and they can apply for the bond, and then you can have shares in that property business, because you are the one maybe who's going to go and look for these properties, you're going to manage them, and the person is you simply leveraging their good credit score, and then you partner with them, so you don't have to submit your application to the bank, but you can still be active and run the property business. And this is an amazing way to get started and to learn, and to still be able to invest even while you are in the process of fixing your credit profile, because ultimately you want to be able to clean your credit profile so you can access more funding and all of those things. But absolutely, one of the ways that you can do that is to collaborate with somebody else who can be able to qualify for those loans because of good credit.
Yeah, I like that. And in partnerships, the biggest thing, you know, we speak about it in another video, is in partnering, always structure the business. Yeah. So I'm not going to go and partner with someone with a bad credit who has no intention of fixing their bad credit. Number one. Number two, who doesn't want to sign on any piece of paper. We're only going to partner when we have got full integrity, full disclosures, and we've structured with an attorney a contract to say, Sli, we are partnering in this. We place it into an entity that is a company. We co-own it. This is what Sli is bringing. This is what Miranda is bringing, and we partner in that in that property. Because one day, if we want to sell or we want to end the relationship, we must be able to unhinge from each other, you know, in a coherent way and in a friendly way. So partnering, absolutely great strategy. Do you have another one that you want to cover, Sli?
I think the other one could potentially be just collaborating with others. I think it falls into the one of partnering with others. But I think as we wrap up this video, some of you may not even be aware of what your credit score is, and it's something that you need to have an awareness of, because you don't want the heartbreak of, you know, you start the process, you want to buy a property, and they say, sorry, it declined because of bad credit. So just being aware. All the major credit bureaus in the country, they provide free credit reports at least once a year. So even if you're checking it once a year, it's sufficient, because you may find that maybe your ID was stolen and somebody took an account on your name and you're not aware, and you're blacklisted, and you get surprised when you are applying for credit. So just once a year, at the very least, go and get your credit report from all the major bureaus, TransUnion, Experian, etc. There's also another one which you can go and check. I think they send you an updated report every month, so that if you want to actively monitor it, you can be able to do that. ClearScore. Yes, ClearScore. TransUnion, Experian, if you want more regular access, you have to pay for it, as far as I'm aware, but just go and do your research and monitor your credit score. You will see, as you start doing things, paying on time, reducing your credit use, closing accounts, you will see it, your score improving over time. Let's take care of our credit profiles, because that is the one thing that is going to lead us to significant wealth. So now that we've had these insightful conversations, and we want to be able to bring this to more people, right? So the best way to find out more about, you know, the programs that we run, our workshops, we've got live events that we do, and we also have a mentorship program. Please subscribe to our mailing list. The list will be, the link will be in the description below. And if you want to get more videos like these, we'll be sharing more over the next couple of weeks. Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel and switch on the notification button.